One possible silver lining of corona fever, the possible demise of the SATs and the ACTs. I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and put your pencils down, time's up. This is the Dr. Duke Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show, the one, the only, the inescapably necessary program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. Today, we're talking about the fallout from the coronavirus when it comes to education and how colleges are making final exams optional due to stress. Also, students are being warned about being racist about the virus. But we start in high school, where SAT and ACT tests are being shut down. But will this really impact college admissions? And the answer is no. There are kids now across the country who, because they can't show up and take the tests, are not being able to take their tests, which means they won't have results back in time to apply for colleges in the fall, which means that, oh no, they're not going to take us. Think again, my pseudo-sick children. They're going to take you. If you think for 1 second the universities aren't going to take your money and your food money and your dorm room money and your campus fee money and your health money and your tuition money, you think they're not going to take it because you didn't fill out the stupid SAT bubble exam? Think again. Maybe this will convince parents. Maybe the entire ACT and SAT scam will be completely dropped now.
And we've talked about this before and how there are several universities already across the country who have said...
More than several, yeah.
Okay, I don't know how many exactly, but a lot have said, you know what, we're not going to take the ACT, SAT scores. You can send them if you'd like, but we're not going to look at that because we're caring more about your diversity and all those other components and social justice buzzwords they like to use. So the fact that, yes, these students who have signed up for the April 4th nationwide ACT test, and now they're being pushed back to June 13th is the date, it's not going to really affect them getting into college.
No, and as I said before, the colleges have become so mercenary. The SAT, and look, you mentioned something important. The first major blow against the SATs and the ACTs came from progressives, the same progressives who set up Common Core to be one global testing scheme now are rejecting testing at the university level because of inclusion. How many times have we talked about on this show how the word inclusion now has dominated progressive thinking? It doesn't matter what else you do. If you're not inclusive, according to liberal definitions, then you're bad. Now, all public school kids will have to take the tests because there's no way out of them anymore, right? That's inclusion. But see, the SAT and the ACT are used to determine who does and who does not get into college. And according to progressives, everybody gets into college. So you see the little double take there. And hopefully and so not that I agree with any of that, but I do agree that the SAT and the ACT are useless markers, benchmarkers. We're not teaching kids real facts and learning anymore. Those tests don't tell us anything meaningful anyway. And we know that such high-stakes testing for public school kids is worthless too. So maybe if we get rid of SATs and ACTs, find a better way of measuring college achievement that's not diversity or inclusion, because according to diversity and inclusion, everybody goes no matter what they can do or can't do. Maybe we find an actual academic way of measuring kids?
Stop it.
Stop it. Oh, you stop that.
Well, we do know that schools, because the K-12 schools are also closed, that this could mean that those statewide tests that are, especially for grades 3 through 8, that those tests might be delayed or canceled altogether. So guidance was released by the U.S. Department of Ed, and it's considering waiving the requirements for these statewide tests. We know that currently, if you're in grades 3 through 8, anywhere across the nation, every spring you take these tests.
I thought,
Stop, you thought?
I thought that Common Core was state-led. I thought that this was done by teachers.
It's not?
You mean the Federal Department of Education has to waive requirements?
Or consider waiving it.
Do you mean that I was lied to by Bill Gates? Do you mean that we were lied to by David Coleman? Shiver me timbers.
Oh, I thought you were having a heart attack there.
I've got the vapors.
You got the vapors.
So yes, so the all-benevolent federal government might consider waiving this year's test because of corona. Another possible silver lining for the corona. That's 2, chalk up 2, coronavirus. Number 3, don't have to set foot on college campuses. Big number.
That should be number 1.
We really need to look at the cost-benefit analysis of this and wonder, do we want corona around all the time.
You're speaking economics.
Economics.
Just so everyone's aware, according to the Education Department's actual official document they released, the department would consider a targeted one-year waiver of the assessment requirements for those schools impacted by the extraordinary circumstances.
Now, look.
Everybody.
This is the same federal government that's closed down everything, right?
Yes.
Now the northern border, the southern, they're all closed down. States across the country telling you no more gatherings of 50 or even 10. And yet notice how still the public schools they're not even in. We don't even have kids in public schools, and we may not have them the rest of this semester, and yet the federal government is saying we may allow targeted exclusion.
A targeted one-year exclusion.
Explain to me, targeted, right? Which means that not all schools would be relevant for this. So
Read their
everybody's at home.
language.
How are they going to do it? No, wait, the entire school system is shut down. They're not willing yet to suspend the test for everybody, which means what? They're going to call a handful of kids back in? They're going to deliver the test to your front door? This shows you how big government, for what it wants in terms of indoctrination and control mechanisms, they're going to waive everything except the things that they matter, and they're not willing to waive your kids' tests. That should tell you how nasty and unnecessary these tests are to begin with.
Well, luckily, if you are stressed out from everything that's happening with coronavirus and you are a student at Northwestern, it's okay because your finals may be optional now. Northwestern University decided that they are going to accommodate students fully by asking professors to cancel the finals for the students who are too stressed out. A campus-wide email was sent on Sunday by Provost Jonathan Holloway, and he said that all undergrads, this is for undergrads specific, who choose not to take their final for any reason will be assigned a grade based on their prior coursework to date.
Yeah, and this is just one of the biggest problems with this kind of coronavirus panic is how much control is ceded away that you never get back again. You telling me that this stress-related problem stops when corona's gone? What's going to be a bigger lifetime threat? What's going to be a bigger lifetime stress factor for a senior in college? The possibility of a coronavirus that doesn't kill any kids at that age graphic anyway, or a lifetime of student debt, Katie? Mm-hmm. Maybe you need to waive my final exams and waive my research paper, and if I'm getting a C, curve it to an A, because I've got so much debt. If stress is the reason, then coronaviruses come and go, but stress remains. And so I say this broader, more culturally. All the things that the federal government is doing that are questionable, all of this martial law without the tanks in the streets, and what does it say about the American people in 2020? That you don't need tanks in streets to enforce the equivalent of martial law, right? Exactly. I get it, better safe than sorry. My question is this: after this is all said and done 6 months from now, how much of our freedoms remain in their hands? How much of these new rules will be scaled back? I'll tell you, not all of them. There are going to be a lot of things that are put in place now that once the threat passes, will stay. That's how government works.
Well, and that's how when you get the panic and all that to set in, they have it in the news so much, so often, that becomes the new normal, and they forget or never knew in the first place what their rights are or how it was meant to be.
Or you have a completely miseducated generation before under the age of 40 who don't know what their civil rights were to begin with, don't know what the limitations of government are anyway. This Northwestern thing doesn't surprise me, but again, I make the point that all of these accommodations that are being made could be made for somebody who's stressed out, because if I'm a minority at Northwestern and people don't look like me, that's a lot more stress, the progressives say, than a simple virus, right?
Well, and even in the exact reasoning in the letter that was sent out for this canceling of the final or the optional, it says, quote, rapidly disintegrating travel options, the confirmed appearance of COVID-19 on campus, and the incredible stress that everyone is trying to manage. Maybe I have incredible stress that I'm trying to manage related to X, Y, or Z.
Did you see all those kids partying on the beaches of Florida who aren't stressed out by the coronavirus? Do you really think these Northwestern...
They're worried about getting sunburned.
Exactly.
You know,
and look...
balance the water with the booze.
For those kids, on the tens of thousands of kids who are partying on the beaches of Florida, in spite being warned and lectured by the governor of Florida, they're more concerned not just about suntan, they're more concerned about the clap than they are about getting coronavirus,
not
right?
That clap.
Not the clapper.
Not that clap.
You can't clap that one on and off, right? You can't clap your clap away. Although beaches, I said we should have made a crabs joke somewhere.
Oh, that's a good
somewhere
point.
That
There
would have
should be a
fit, right?
crabs joke in there.
Soft shell or otherwise. Nevertheless, the point here is, and it remains, that this kind of all of this Corona currying favor? It would be one thing if we waited until something like Corona to institute this, but how is this different from stress balls and coloring books and crying booths in the libraries and allowing people to determine the push to move away from grades altogether? This is just part and parcel of something that's going to be coming down the road. Pretty soon, kids are going to be able to pick their own grades. Pretty soon, exams themselves will be deemed a white supremacist holdover of 2,000 years, right, of Eurocentrism. It's coming. This is just pushing it farther down the road.
And on the note of white supremacy and all of that, the Andrews University Vice President for Diversity and Inclusion, Michael Nixon.
You've got a vice president.
Hold on.
I got to throw this out there, man. You got a vice president for diversity, which means there's a little army of diversity officers underneath him, right? Is there a Secretary General of Diversity?
We'll see. I don't know. I did not look that up.
Just ask me.
Anyway, at Andrews University, the VP for Diversity and Inclusion, Michael Nixon, has said in a university-wide email, and this was already at the end of February, even before all the lockdowns happened, warning students to not be racist and xenophobic. He says in the email, "I want to reflect directly on the unreasonable fear that sometimes accompanies the way we perceive, welcome, and care for each other within our Andrews University community, especially at challenging moments like these." Now, what basically happened was that there are students at the university from Asian countries, including from China, and Mr. Nixon said that he is received letters from Asian members of the Andrews University community, and that one of the individuals experienced racist and xenophobic behavior by other people who fear becoming infected by the coronavirus. And then he actually quoted the student who sent him this letter. The letter said, "I have been asked on a daily basis if I had the coronavirus by complete strangers just because I'm Asian. However, I have never exhibited any behavior that would indicate that I'm sick. People either literally slam door in my face or visibly avoid being in contact with me by moving their seats away from me in class or make questionable remarks when they catch me wearing a face mask."
Isn't this how liberals treat conservatives?
Absolutely.
Is this not how liberals treat conservatives?
Yes.
Right? That they don't want to be associated with them. They don't want to be in the same classrooms with them. They want dorms and graduations that will separate themselves from evil white people.
They're triggered by if you wear a hat that's red, even if it has nothing to do with anything.
I mean, literally, you're setting up separate graduations for different ethnicities because they don't want to be part of white privilege America. And now, all of a sudden, the little snowflakes, when it happens to them. And look, at my university, our chancellor sent out a half dozen things about the virus. We'll call it the Wuhan virus, right? About
China
the virus, China virus, right? And it's always this finger wagging. It's more genuine emotion about don't use the word Chinese virus, right? Don't turn this into an example of racism. More finger wagging about that and real emotion than there is about the actual sickness.
And has there been a single...
No.
Okay.
No, there hasn't been.
Do you even know what my question was going to be?
Does it matter?
No, because the answer would be no. My question, though, just for the audience, so you want to know, was going to be, has a single historian or history professor or a single science professor said, well, factually, you can call this the Chinese virus because of its origin.
The Spanish flu was not a slur against Spaniards, right?
But
are the good people of Hamburg, Germany, tarred and feathered with fried meat now? Is this a racial thing
I did not know
in this era of veganism? Is that not a slur? And this has much broader cultural implications too. The whole thing here about this, it shows you how, in a crisis, the first thing that gets ratcheted up, because well before the university decided to cancel classes, they were worried about the racial implications of this, right? And now you got a situation where if the shoe is on the other foot, I guarantee you, well, I'll just come out and say it. So we can't call it the China virus, even though it occurred in Wuhan province, where one of their bio laboratories were, bioweapons laboratory, coincidence, right? Can't talk about how the fact that really low sanitation in those street markets, which is absolutely true, the government won't fix that. That contributed to this, right? We know that's true. But you can't call it the China virus. Meanwhile, the Chinese government comes out and blames America for fabricating the virus and American soldiers for propagating it in China. So where is, wait for it, Chancellor Levitt at University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh, wait for it, liberals, where is your outrage over China stigmatizing the West? Why is America never a race? Why, when they do the exact same things, nobody says, hey, that's racist. You're blaming the American people collectively for this virus, right? Why is it only racist one way? This is liberal thinking, right? There's nothing you can say about America at all that would require any censure from any liberal. But the minute somebody calls it the China vaccine, the virus, for obvious reasons, then we've got a problem. This is the double standard hypocrisy, and it's racist. Your hypersensitivity to non-Westerners, to non-whites, and your complete ignoring of an entire culture being smeared for no reason and have nothing to say about that, that shows you to be, it's all fake, right? This isn't about equity or justice. It's about your own social virtue signaling.
And if you want to talk fake, within that email that Nixon sent out, he cited CNN. He said, this particular letter and other recent conversations have indicated to me that concerns like these move beyond simply a fear of contracting a disease to having a perspective that's influenced by xenophobic fears or racist tropes against our Asian community members on this campus or around the world. And he included a link to the CNN article titled, "As the coronavirus spreads, fear is fueling racism and xenophobia."
Yes. So terrible. And it's almost like, what's the silver lining of coronavirus? I gave you some mocking silver linings of this. The SATs may go, here's the silver lining of things like coronavirus for liberals. You get to scream racism about something else. One more platform
Tick that
for
off,
you. You can
absolutely.
tick it off your box. Yep. Well, we're going to try something new in the Dr. Duke Show because we have so many moms and dads who have kids home from school. We're going to try it here, and we're going to move a little forward. Every show we do, 4 shows a week, we're going to take the last segment and we're going to do a little bit of culture. We're going to look at a little bit of art, history, philosophy, poetry, painting. We're going to do a little 5-minute segment here on some classic work of art for moms and dads at home that you can sit down and show your kids with. So this is going to be the 4th segment moving forward as a way as while you've got all those kids home and you can't strangle them, and there's not enough Play-Doh to keep them busy all day, maybe we educate them a little bit. So today's poem is The Pulley by George Herbert. George Herbert was a Protestant poet of the 1600s. He was a remarkably gentle man. He, in later life, became a pastor. By all accounts, he loved and served his people, his parishioners, very well. He would bring them clothes and food when they were sick. But he was also one of the great poets of the 17th century. And he was a great religious poem. He is one of our best poems of Christianity ever. And so here is the poem, The Pulley. Mike, throw it up there. And Katie, you know what a pulley is, right?
Yes, I did.
A pulley is a wheel that hangs on a hook that you can throw a rope over and you can leverage, right?
Absolutely.
With the power of a pulley, you can lift things much heavier than you can by hand. Remember that as we read through the poem. When God first made man, having a glass of blessings standing by, let us, said he, pour on him all we can. Let the world's riches, which dispersed lie, contract into a span. What a beautiful image, right? There's God. God's like a chef in a kitchen, right? And there he is, and he's making man, human beings. And he's got his spices there, right? You've got strength and wisdom and beauty and intelligence and baldness, all the wonderful blessing God has conferred upon his people. Go back to the poem. As he's doing that, when God first made man, having a glass of blessing standing by, let us, said he, pour on him all we can. Let the world's riches, which dispersed lie across the cosmos, let it contract into a span. Let's make man the microcosm of the macrocosm. Everything you can find in the universe, we will make in our creature man. Kind of a beautiful image, right? So what did God do? What did he give us? So strength first made a way. Then beauty flowed. Then wisdom, honor, pleasure. When almost everything was poured out of the glass, God stopped. God made us stay. Perceiving that, alone of all his treasure, rest in the bottom lay. Now go back to this is remarkable. After giving man all of these beautiful things, at the very bottom of the glass, right, the one thing God pauses over is rest, peace of mind, comfort, contentment. If I give him this, God thought to himself, what happens to my creature if I make him completely content without me? You know, one of the realities of life, God or no God, whether you believe in God or not, is that nothing material can satisfy us. Ask rich people. Money doesn't do it. Health, beauty, strength, talent. There's always a hole missing in the human heart. There's always something that the material world can't fill. Go back to the poem. God was smart, right? For if I should, said God, bestow this jewel also on my creature, he would adore my gifts instead of me. and rest in nature, not the God of nature. So both should losers be. And that is a beautiful, beautiful sentiment, right? That if I gave man absolute peace of mind, if I took away stress, Northwestern University, I took away stress, I took away pain, I took away suffering, I took away death, if I made man, in other words, a little God, then he would rest calmly as the God of nature and would never know me, the God who created nature. So what is God's resolution? Let him keep the rest. He can have all those other things, beauty and strength and wisdom, yet let mankind keep the rest, but keep them with repining restlessness. Let man be rich and weary, that at least, if goodness lead him not to me, yet weariness may toss him to my breast. Beautiful, right? That I'm going to give God all the blessings that a loving father would give, with one exception. I'm not going to give him those moms and dads who won't give their rich moms and dads who won't give their kids everything so they don't grow up to be spoiled. I will give mankind all the beauty and wisdom, but I will give him those things with the knowledge that they will not be enough, so that if their happiness doesn't turn them back to me, and how many of us think of God when we're happy? How many of us really focus deeply on God when everything's going our way? No. Maybe during those weary times, Herbert says, maybe during those weary times when we realize that there is nothing in the material world that can ultimately satisfy us, maybe then they'll turn their minds back to me. And that is another silver lining of the coronavirus, that we've introduced this new culture at home segment for moms and their kids. And so we'll pick this up again next week.
And that will wrap up this Wednesday. To help foster a little education to the millions of kids staying home from school, we'll be showcasing 2 family videos on our Freedom Project Media Facebook page starting tomorrow, Thursday, at 10 a.m. Central Time. And we will be releasing one of our 90-second Presidential Minute videos. And then at 2 p.m. Central Time, we will release a video highlighting one of the 56 brave men who signed the Declaration of Independence. We'll be doing this every day for the foreseeable future. So gather the kids and do a little homeschooling with Freedom Project.
So not only are you going to have Dr. Duke and Katie discussing art as part of the show every day, you're going to have the ability to watch all of these educational videos for free every day. It's a way of keeping your kids' minds a little bit sharp. And we have a special program coming once a week, which we'll talk about next week. Before we go, I just want to remind families that Freedom Project Academy's 2020 enrollment is off and running. Again, you want a homeschool experience where we have real teachers teaching your kids in real time, doing all the grading and assignment. You want a diploma for homeschooling that will get your kids into college? And no coronavirus, no sex education, no bullying on campus. Think about Freedom Project Academy. Since all of our classes are taught live online, our students and faculty haven't missed a beat. We're still going. Our kids are in school and they're safe. If you have a student in K-12, take a look at our fully accredited Judeo-Christian online school for next fall. Request your free information packet at freedomforschool.com. That's freedomforschool.com. For Freedom Project, I'm Dr. Duke. She's Katie. Until next time, use the pulley, my friends. Use the pulley.